In this demonstration of Kovair Omnibus, we will be showing you bidirectional integration between ServiceNow and Azure DevOps. We will depict a scenario where in an organization Azure DevOps is getting used by internal teams for development activities and ServiceNow is getting used as ticket management tool. We will showcase how Kovair Omnibus, the proprietary ESB from Kovair, establishes seamless collaboration between these teams by providing bidirectional integration between ServiceNow and Azure DevOps. We will showcase two different scenarios in the demo. Let's start with the first scenario. The support team adds an incident in ServiceNow. Now, based on a given condition, this incident will get synchronized to respective project of Azure DevOps as an user story. Next, any modification done on the user story in Azure DevOps get reflected in ServiceNow. Similarly, any modification on the incident done at ServiceNow will get synchronized to Azure DevOps in a real-time manner. With this introduction, let's now add an incident in ServiceNow. While adding, I will select the type of work item type that will be created in Azure DevOps, and also the project where the record will be synced in Azure DevOps. Let me also give values to some mandatory fields as well. Now that I am done, let's save this. Now let's go to Azure DevOps and refresh the list page. We will notice that the work item has been added to the respective project in Azure DevOps. Once the item gets synchronized, users in Azure DevOps can view the ID of the item created in ServiceNow, as well as use the incident URL to navigate directly to the incident that was created in ServiceNow. Let me use this URL and navigate to the item at ServiceNow. Similarly, the support team members using ServiceNow can view the ID of the item created in Azure DevOps, as well as also navigate to the Azure DevOps work item directly using the Azure DevOps item URL. So rather than searching around, the users can have the flexibility to navigate the corresponding records in both the tools directly using these item URLs. Now, as the internal user starts working on the item in Azure DevOps, they tend to change its status to active and further. Any such modification will also get reflected to the incident in ServiceNow in a real-time manner. Similarly, any modification on the incident from ServiceNow will also be synced to Azure DevOps too. Let's say an user adds a comment or a work note against the incident. The comment or work note will be synchronized to the discussion section of Azure DevOps seamlessly. Not only comments, even emails triggered in ServiceNow will also be synced to the Azure DevOps users under the discussion section. Now let's go to the work item as Azure DevOps. We can see that the additional comments as well as the work notes have successfully synchronized from ServiceNow. Not only that, all the emails that has been triggered in ServiceNow has also been synchronized successfully. This ends the first scenario. In this scenario, we will show how any change raised by internal engineering teams within Azure DevOps gets synchronized with ServiceNow. As the change request gets modified in ServiceNow, it is synchronized to Azure DevOps. On a similar note, any modification done in the change request at Azure DevOps also gets reflected in ServiceNow. In this scenario, we will also see how the change request process of ServiceNow gets followed based on the progress in Azure DevOps. Let me now create a change request in Azure DevOps, which will automatically get synced to ServiceNow as a change request. As ServiceNow provides multiple variants of change request, while creating the change request in Azure DevOps, the user also needs to select the change request type. In this case, let's select it as standard. For a standard change request, ServiceNow demands a template type to be selected as well. So let's select a template type. We will now set the driving criteria, which in this case is, when we set the value of is blocked field as Y, the newly created change request will get synced to ServiceNow. With that, let me save the record. Now as the record gets added in ServiceNow, the corresponding link and ID of the record at ServiceNow will be synchronized to Azure DevOps. Let us use this link of ServiceNow record to navigate to the ServiceNow change request. As you can see, based on the template selection, certain field values like implementation plan, backout plan, and test plan got auto-populated. Now let me show you how, using the sync back capability of Omnibus, all the attributes like test plan, implementation plan, and many more which were auto-populated in ServiceNow based on the template type, gets synced back to Azure DevOps. Now let me provide the planned start date, the planned end date. Change the status of the record to scheduled and save the record. With this change, let me go to ServiceNow. Now as the CR in ServiceNow moves to scheduled, there will be a conflict getting triggered automatically based on the planned dates. Once the users in ServiceNow analyzes these conflicts, they will move the change request to implement by providing the actual start and end dates. Let me provide the actual start and actual end dates. Such updates will also be synced to ADO as well. Next, the change request will undergo review in ServiceNow. Finally, the change request is closed from ServiceNow after providing the closure information. We will change the status to close, put the close code and close notes. As a result, the change request in Azure DevOps also gets closed automatically. As you can see, the item is Azure DevOps also got closed. This ends the second scenario. This brings us to the end of this demonstration. Thank you for watching. To know more about Omnibus, visit our website www.kovair.com or contact us at sales@kovair.com.